Good morning, everybody from the garden. I am in my day of rest, and I just wanted to come out and just kind of get a glimpse of what the garden looked like today after the weekly chores that we have put in place. So I'm just going to kind of walk around and see how everything is doing that I have put in the garden in the bed so far, and see what work I have ahead of me for next week. Many know that farming and gardening is a passion. It is a desire uh, to make sure that my family understand the importance of learning how to grow their own food, how to create something from nothing. Because I've been a baller. I've been thugging this life all my life from the moment that I took my first breath. I have always made something from nothing. My mother told me about a year before the Lord called her home to heaven. We was just sitting and we was talking, and she was telling me why she named me Veronica, and just sharing some different things about what she was thinking about when she was carrying me. And as I moved as a child, and as I shifted, and I had to figure out life as a teenager, but as an adult, because I was a teenage mom. My mother said, I just paid attention and I watched how you would always go out there and you would make something out of nothing. You would go out into the world and you would come back with a nugget for the family. You would always come back with some type of education, training, or whatever for the family. And when my mother was speaking, she was always speaking as her family, not bloodline, not lineage, not legacy, but her branch of the Bennett legacy, the Bennett lineage. So her children, and so forth. So she was speaking from that perspective, and from that perspective, I was the first one to graduate high school. I got my GED, but I graduated. I was the first one to get my bachelor's degree. um, I was the first one to purchase a home. I was the first one to lose my home, go through bankruptcy, recover, bounce back, uh, go through a crisis to the point of like total suicide. Wasn't even a name for me, baby. I gave it a whole nother name. But I was so scared in order to commit the act because I was a struggling Christian because I didn't see the faith being living out in the people. And I was like, God, where you at? And so I was frustrated with the world, and I was frustrated with the church, but I still believed in God. So I used to try to punk out a way. I used to try to find a scary way to commit suicide. It was just so crazy how God he would step in every time. But I was the first one to realize that it was okay to not be okay. It was okay to say I didn't have it put all together. My mother was one of those that suffered in silence. My mother was one of those that was she had this it wasn't an intentional ego, it was a survival ego. You're not gonna see me struggle. You're not gonna know that I'm down and you're not gonna know that. And yeah, no, I wasn't doing that. I was quiet and I didn't wimp out. I wasn't one of those to complain all the time because I went and made things happen. But if I wasn't feeling it, you knew I wasn't feeling it. And if I didn't say it, my face probably said it. But I thank my mother for the words that she said that day. She said, you went out and you gained knowledge, you gained wisdom, you learned a skill, you learned a trade, and you brought it back to the family and you taught the family. I thank my mother for planting that seed in my bosom, not knowing that it was going to lead me to this day, to a literal garden, because I always wanted one, just never just got around to it. And I was sharing with my mom when they was breaking the foundation of my home, I said, Mom, I got a corner plot. I said, I'm going to start a garden. I said, I'm going to put something in the ground. She said, you always talking about that garden. She said, well, good for you. And, uh, and I was just, grateful that my mom, she was proud of me. And when I started doing this garden and just watching how this world is going, and I keep shifting backwards and forward because I see the urgency. It should not be a household that don't have a garden. There should not be a household that don't have some type of garden. You can grow herbs. You can grow a flower that's medicinal. You can do a butterfly garden, so you take care of the animals, the pollinators. You can something. There should not be a household without a garden of some sort. I, I can't fathom that in my spirit right now with the way that everything is going. And for my people, we say we're going to be silent and we're not going to participate and we're not going to do this. Okay, fine. Don't. But get active within the community. I don't care if it's silent. I, you don't sit to the wayside and do absolutely nothing. That is not going to benefit our children and our grandchildren and those that are coming after us. My mother used to always talk about her struggles when she grew up in the 60s, the 50s and the 60s. She talked about how they would have to walk from one part of town to the next part of town, that just to get to school, it would take them over an hour and a half, 2 hours just to go to school. And they was in grade school. That meant that they were in grades under 6. So you had a third, fourth grader walking bridges and walking across the Trinity River just to go to a school where only people that looked like her could go. Um, then as she started getting older, got grown, had children, the struggles that she had as a single mom, mentally broke, ended up on drugs. And then she started talking about the struggles that she had, where not only was she isolated from society, she was isolated from family because she was on drugs. I understand. I had a sister that was addicted to drugs and was out in the street. There was not much that we could do for her, but every now and then we showed up and let her know that we still loved her. That was the difference in what my mother received and how we showed up for my sister. When you feel that it's not safe, or there's a moment in time where there's nothing that you can do for that individual, you still show up to let them know that you didn't forget about them. That's how they come out. That's how they push through. My mother had Jesus, because when my mother came off of drugs, she did it in a bedroom that was a closet that was converted to a bedroom for her to sleep in. And it was her and Jesus, because she tried the so-called rehab places, and because she didn't have the insurance that covered it for more than a week. Come on now, somebody been on drugs 30 years. What is a week of rehab gonna do? You got these rich folks and putting their kids in there for 6 months and a year, and they still come out doing the foolery. What is 1 week gonna do for someone that's been on drugs for 30 years or 20 years or whatever? And God put my mother in that room, and he changed her immediately. She came out and never touched another drug, another alcohol, another cigarette, all the way till she went home. My mother never touched anything. And when I talked to her, and I was just thinking, just talking to her, she said, I never took the risk to try it, because she said, because addiction is so powerful that if you go out there and you try to say, I no longer, my mother did needles. That was one of the things that was popular in South Dallas, in the South, back in the 70s. And she said, if I say, okay, I'm not gonna shoot or do needles or whatever, I don't know what they call that type of drug. I'm not gonna do this anymore, but I'm gonna come over here and I'm gonna drink some alcohol, or I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. Addiction is addiction. After a while, you're gonna fall back into that addiction that your main addiction. And but then too, you have some that can counteract that. But the problem with that is you just went from one drug addiction to the next. If you can't, you got to cut it out. You have to, and then you have those functioning drug addicts. I was one. I was a functioning alcoholic. I went to work, and I met this lady, and she told me how to mask the scent of the alcohol that was in my cup. And baby, when I tell you, that was one of my most successful sales sprint in the history of working in banking. I thank God that He kept me. I thank God that He covered me, because you know how it is when if you doing alcohol and drugs or whatever, and you in a corporate environment, and they find out. Come on now, you know how that works. So God kept me. But baby, when I tell you, then that one night when everything just shattered and just fell apart, God, He kept me. Every now and then when I would find myself trying to be a part of the crowd, and I would drink a little wine here or drink a little alcohol here, I found myself spiraling out. And even if it was for a weekend, it was excessive. So, like Mike Jr. said, in his blood, he chose not to do drugs or alcohol. Okay. He chose not to entertain drugs and alcohol when he went to college, because he knew his family bloodline. He knew what his family, what their weaknesses were. When I met my great grandmother, she told me, and I didn't listen. She told me, "Don't you mess with this, because our family bloodline can't handle this." And she pointed to a bottle of Thunderbird. It was alcohol. She said, "Don't you mess with this." She hit my hand because she thought I was reaching for, but I wanted that Snicker that was next to it. I was reaching for the Snicker. And she loved Snickers, and I did too. That was interesting. And she said, "Don't you mess with this." And that was the very thing that Satan used to try to destroy me before I can get to this day right here. And he almost succeeded, but God, He kept me. He kept me. Now let's get back to this garden. Let's talk about this garden. We have got to I need everyone to start growing their own food, finding ways to create their own compost, so you don't have to rely on big box stores for what you need in order to get your produce to grow in the ground, in the container, whatever. Start connecting with these communities where you have individuals as myself that are doing workshops. Start investing in them and helping them to get the message out, so that we can get more families to start growing their own food. Everybody don't have the mental, physical capacity or strength to grow food, but you can sow into a community garden, such as who is it? Plant, and I'm drawing a blank. My sis that's over there in Oak Cliff, my sis that I think is Ubuntu Farms in Fort Worth. Oh God, it's another one that's in Fort Worth. I will tag them in this video. And we are Simply Grace Gardens Foundations, SGG Foundation. We are getting ready to start our own community garden, and start coming and contributing and sowing into those spaces. If you're not comfortable with growing your own food, come and learn and help build that community. And you will be able to reap from the benefits of it. And then once you get confident enough, put a pot or two in your garden, in your yard, in your home, on your countertop. Grow some herbs. You can grow herbs and put them in your food, so that you can make your food that you eat that much more beneficial for your body and for your families. It is very important right now, it's sooner rather than later, that we come together as a community and start growing our own food. You can't fight from a weak, feeble, sick body. You can't fight from the position of it's all about me, and it's not. If you don't have a community, you're not going to survive this next era that's coming in. I used to say season. Now we're going into an era where if you don't have a community, you're not going to make it. You're not going to survive. And I think about my grandchildren when I say those words. I think about what they have to go through and endure. I'm not worried about me. I'm concerned about my grandchildren and their generation. That the mindlessness and the carelessness that they are in, like nothing matters when it comes to survival. When if they click that switch and the lights go out and there's no more internet and you have no more chat GPT and you have no more AI, you got no more internet, how are you going to survive? What survival skills are we teaching our grandchildren? What survival skills are we teaching our children? This is a conversation that I'm having with my adult children right now. What survival skills do you have? I get it that don't nobody want to do no manual labor, but that you don't have a choice right now. You don't have an option right now. Learn how to build something. Learn how to create something that helps with survival of life. Life. We need life skills. It's so interesting that when I was going to school, I went to Hulsey. They taught us how to sew. The girls was in homemaking, home ed. I was like, I want to get in wood shop. And so I was the only girl in that particular class that was in wood shop. And I learned how to make a car, a little push car. I made a bookshelf. And I was like, I want to get back into wood shop. I want to get back into wood. I need to create some stuff. I need to figure out some stuff. But right now, the Lord held me in, my masterpiece is the land, the soil. My masterpiece is in producing and growing food and perennials and things of that nature. That's where God helped me. So I need someone that can team up with me, that can build something. I need someone that can team up with me, that have other resources, so that we can come together to create a community, to serve our community for this era that we're going into. So much for showing the garden, right? I guess we talked about the garden, and it is important and very critical that we get focused in doing what we have to do for the sake of our children and our grandchildren. Many of us, like we hear the story, everybody, they're talking about, let's move to another country. Let's move to let's get out of the United States. Don't you know they're all involved? You're not going to be able to run away from this. In London, UK, or whatever you want to call it, they're trying to figure out ways on how to grow sustainably and plan out your garden in a way that you be able to feed your family. So you're not planning just because you can. You planning based on the weeks, the months, and the seasons on how you eat, to make sure that you have a continual growth of food for you to eat. That's what they're talking about in London, in UK. So this crisis, this shortage of food and water, it does not stop in the U.S. It's global. This is global. And we need to learn how to grow our own food. I don't care if you urban. I don't care if you rural. I don't care if you're in the mountains. I don't care. Everybody needs to learn how to grow in the space that they're in. Especially if you're in urban setting where you're in a concrete jungle. In my communities and those that surrounding us, We don't have very many stores that offer nutritional food. Some are called deserts. No, they all deserts. I go into the grocery store and I look and I'm like, I mean, all the way down to the basics of the type of coffee that I like to drink. I have to drive out, and mind you, we have a Sprouts within about 20 minutes to me. 15. It's a small, no, about 10 minutes. I have a Tom Thumb that's about 5 minutes away from me. There's a Kroger maybe 5 minutes away from me, but none of them carry the sustainably grown coffee, organic coffee that does not have mold in it. I still have to drive way on the north side or go on the other side of Red Oak to a certain store in order to be able to get the sustainably grown coffee to make sure that what I drink don't have mold in it. So no, our communities are still not being serviced. Our communities are still not being provided for. But I'm not concerned about what they're not doing. My issue is what we're not doing for us in our own community. What we're not doing. We're not picking up and taking responsibility and accountability for our own community. There shouldn't be a reason why you go by every other house or whatever it is and somebody not growing something. There's no excuse for us. So when everything go to happen and everything go to shut down and everything, what's that, STHF, and we start crying, and then you want to come and try to, ravage those that are trying. What you think that people gonna do to protect their families? Let's pull together and let's go ahead and try to take care of us and stop fighting against one another. We're the only ones still yet divided. Let's come together and do something for the sake of our children and our grandchildren, our nieces, our great nieces. We're celebrating graduations right now. They're getting ready to go into a world that is totally unknown and it is not inviting to their skin color. Are you preparing them for that? Have you prepared them for that? You all have a blessed and amazing day. Let's go ahead and let's get busy. Now let me get back to my rest because I shouldn't have came out here because now I'm starting to see stuff that I want to do. Talk to you tomorrow when we come back out in the garden to get back to building this homestead. Simply Grace Gardens, LLC. And establishing Simply Grace Gardens Foundation. Have a blessed day.